Good evening. Welcome to the November 20th, 25 regular West Clermont business meeting. Mr. Romano, please take roll.
Mr. Patton.
Present.
Mr. Rudy.
Present.
Mr. Chumley.
Present.
Ms. Sanborn.
Present.
Mrs. Spencer.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. At this point, I'll make a motion that we withdraw to executive session for the purpose of considering the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or a student, and to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal finances statements of any applicant or economic development assistance, or to negotiate with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance. Would someone like to make a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Patton.
Yes.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley.
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay. We will be back by 7.
You can squish it. You can like squish it. Every heart beats true under red, white, and blue, where there's never a
Good evening. We are back from executive session to start our November 20th meeting. Mr. Romano, will you please take roll?
Mr. Patton.
Present.
Mr. Rudy.
Present.
Mr. Chumley.
Present.
Ms. Sanborn.
Present.
Mrs. Spencer.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance You guys did a great job on that. Next up is the motion to adopt the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
Mr. Patton.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley.
Yes.
5 yes.
Next up, Jenny and Josh.
Good evening, President Patton, members of the board. At this time, we would like our tracker representatives, our recognees, Brody and Emma, to come up, as well as our maintenance department for tonight's recognition. So please join us up here. You know what? We'll go over there. You guys can line up right there. Josh, I'll hand those to you. Start with them. So, we have two groups tonight. We have our maintenance group, and then we have two members, the editors of the tracker. So we'll start with our West Clermont Maintenance Department. West Clermont proudly recognizes the West Clermont Maintenance Department for their steadfast dedication to our schools. Whether it's early mornings, late evenings, or unexpected weekend emergencies, this team always answers the call to keep our buildings safe, open, and functional. This team possesses an array of knowledge and skills which has saved the district thousands of dollars by handling major repairs in-house. Our students and staff benefit every day from their hard work and pride that they bring daily to their jobs. Thank you for all you do, and congratulations.
I just want to add a couple things. As you know, I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of careers in education. These guys and the others that are not here are by far the best maintenance guys I have ever had the pleasure of working actually for, to be honest with you. They are literally a phone call away, whether it's midnight, Sunday afternoon at 1, whatever, they will come in and keep the district running. So I admire them and respect them for what they do.
Let me read their names quickly here. We have Mark Hall, Roger Thornburg, Thomas Allen, Mike Rickman, Donnie Blankenship, Jason Hostetter, Charlie Toole, Sean Smith, Chester Troy, Tyler Hall, Bryce Reese, Mark Stemmer, and Kim McKinney. So, thank you again. You want to go that way? You want to head over there to Josh? And then you're going to go up and come around. And Brody and Emma, you can come this way. We'll give them a chance to get through, okay?
You come up.
This will be easy.
Thank you so much for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Will you walk?
All right, and next up, West Clermont proudly recognizes West Clermont High School's yearbook staff for their outstanding publication, The Tracker, which has once again been named to Walsworth Publishing's Gallery of Excellence. This honor is awarded to fewer than 5% of yearbooks nationwide and earned by West Clermont for the 7th consecutive year. As the only school in the tri-state area to receive this distinction and the only high school in the region to achieve it 7 times. This accomplishment reflects the exceptional commitment, creativity, and talent of the yearbook staff. We are especially proud to recognize this year's 2 senior editors, Emma Campbell and Brody Howard, whose leadership and dedication guided the team in producing a publication that continues to serve as a model of quality and pride for our community. Congratulations on this accomplishment.
So next up, it looks like I'll hand it over to Mr. Young for Holly Hill.
Good evening, Mr. Romano, Dr. Foltz, board. I have the distinct honor tonight of sharing some great things happening at Holly Hill with our Huskies, and if you couldn't tell, we are excited. We're excited. I spoke to some young ladies over here. I said, we're not nervous, we're excited. We're going to rebrand that in our own brain. So I want to share just a couple key highlights for you guys. At Holly Hill, we have embraced Leader in Me fully, and we have found ways to implement just the core beliefs in everything that we do in our daily work. Not just one part of the day, but throughout everything, even beyond the school day, as well as you'll hear here from our after-school clubs. We believe everyone can be a leader. Everyone has a genius. You'll see that through the variety of clubs that are offered, and just the variety of leadership roles that students get to opt into at Holly Hill. We believe that in ownership, that change starts with me, and that students lead their learning. Our duty, we feel, is to develop the whole person. It's not just about the score, it's about the whole child as they leave our doors on the West Clermont Middle School. We have 4 roles. We almost jumped right into the Holly Hill Pledge right after the Pledge of Allegiance, because that's how we do it every day. Had to rein them back in a little bit. Worked out, but every day, and this has been in place for well over a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. It kind of worked out nicely that we are helpers, observers, workers, and leaders. So that's been a part of the Holly Hill way of doing business for many, many, many years. So I'm going to go ahead and hand things off to what I have some teacher leaders for you this evening that are leading these different clubs. We have a couple students. I'll share some quick remarks about their clubs, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with a vocal performance, because that's part of student voice. So I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Reese.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. So one of the clubs that we run in Holly Hill is the Kindness Council, and we do great things for our staff and our students at Holly Hill. And we also wrote letters for the school board at last night's meeting. Vanellope, would you like to talk about what you do at the club and why it's important to you?
Clubs are very important to me because I get to spend more time with friends. Also, I get to do things for my school.
Great job. So now we'll hand it off to Mrs. McNeil.
I've been doing book club at Holly Hill for about 5 years now. This is our first year to do it after school, so I've had a few more who have joined. For me, it helps me to have a rapport with the students and some of the students that I don't get to teach. But let's hear from them because they'll tell you how much they enjoyed book club this year. They don't fight. Say something. You don't have to. How about let's let Judah came prepared.
At my book club, we read Lawn Boy. It was a very fun and exciting book. We got to learn new words and learn how money can work. I feel like every school should have a book club for every grade. Reading is fun and important and enjoyable to discuss with others.
At our book club,
we get to learn all about the state and the government, and it helps us learn how to use our money properly, and it can show us how to read more and get into the joyful spirit of reading, and it just helps me a lot when I get to learn more about stuff.
Okay, this is Abigail, and she's a little shy, which is fine, but we read this book Lawn Boy, so you don't think I'm like trying to get him to make money, but we kind of, the boy is 12, so about their age. So they learned about how he makes money and what the stock market is, which goes back to 4th grade business beginnings. So, and that's where I started out as a 4th grade teacher and came into reading specialist. So it covers that, but they're not making money. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, I teach 5th grade math, so I've started a math club about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe longer. Anyway, my math club is based on play. Students get to stay after school and play games. We use a lot of dice and cards. That puts them hands-on. They get to use mental math skills, think on their feet, have a little competition, and actually do some hands-on learning while having fun. And this year I have about 22 kids who stay after school for math club. So.
So you'll hear from our singing club here in a second, but we do things like we did the Veterans Day Assembly, we did the white table ceremony for our veterans. We'll be leading a holiday sing-along the last day of school before we go to holiday break. And Ben would like to say something too.
I like being in a singing club because we can sing songs everyone can listen to. We get to do sign language and we get to perform. We have friends that aren't in our class. I'm so glad Holly Hill has singing club. Thank you for having us sing today, for you today.
We're going to make you do like Okay, turn around, you're facing down.
They're the audience.
You're facing the board. You're making a U. It's okay. Like this. Ready? You're fine, right? Too hard. Okay, back up, back up. Okay, are we ready? Okay. All right. You ready?
Every heart beats true.
Well, in closing, we'll take a little pause and we can have our friends go outside here for a quick picture. But I just want to emphasize, kids are our core business. We love every single one of them that come to us every single day, and we believe they can do a whole lot more than we give them credit for. So, any opportunity they can, we let them step up and take charge. So, do you have any questions?
Their patriotism is astounding. I was very impressed.
They were quite the hit at the Veterans Day ceremony. They gave, I think, 4 different songs. There were some veterans asking for encores. Yeah, it was good. It was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yes.
How often do they meet? Like,
I'll answer here. Sorry. The question was, how often do the clubs meet? It depends on the club, but typically every other week. So the singing club specifically, every other week, so about twice a month. We'll give them a break after the big performances that they have. But the Kindness Council, who wrote you guys notes, I've got them over here for you. They met yesterday after school. It's open to all grades. One of the things we didn't point out, but was in the pictures, you'll see a lot of older students working with the younger kids, not just the little brother and sister, but it'll be a nice cross grade level group too. So, yes, sir.
I thought they were going to stay so we could sing to them.
No, I don't sing. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Singing voice.
Absolutely not.
I think I'll speak on behalf of the board. Please tell the parents, thank you for bringing them out. They did a
Absolutely.
great job. That was, you guys
That's a
never
lot to
cease.
ask on a Thursday night.
Yes, yes. So make sure you pass that on to them. Let the
Absolutely.
parents know we said
Absolutely.
thanks. And
Awesome.
you
Thank
never
you
cease
for
to
your time.
amaze.
Once again, it was an honor. Love my kids and love my job. So,
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Snyder, for
We can
orchestrating
tell.
all this. It was great.
yeah, absolutely.
Did a
Absolutely.
wonderful job.
Sure. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Okay. Ready? Next up is public speaking. It does not look like we have any. Moving to, sorry, thank you. My computer's catching up here. So resolution of an appointment to the Great Oaks Career Campus Governing Board.
All right, in front of you is Miss May Hanna is the Senior Assistant Dean Marketing in Marketing and Communications and Recruitment and Student Services. Wow, they've given you a lot of hats, Ms. Hanna, over there, University of Cincinnati, Clermont College. She has held a Great Oaks position liaison since 2020. The resolution is to have her willfully join us for another 3 years in that role. I know that she reports out when they have meetings, and then I put those on the weekend update. So May is here with us, and we were excited about having her extend that position for another 3 years. So the resolution before you is that you approve the resolution to appoint May Hanna to the Great Oaks Career Campus Governing Board for a 3-year calendar term. Commencement, that's the calendar year, January of 2026 through December of 2028. So that's 2026, 2027, and 2028.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Foltz. You've heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Would someone like to second it?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Miss Sanborn.
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer.
Yes.
Mr. Patton.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley.
Yes.
5 yes.
Mrs. Hanna, thank you very much for all of your hard work. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to serve for 3 more years. And let me know if there's anything that I can do in that capacity representing West Clermont. So, thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Next up is our consent agenda. Moving to Josh.
Good evening. In front of you is the personnel agenda for Thursday, November 20th. I did want to make sure that we highlighted our retirees on this agenda. Karen Kunkel, she is currently a gifted teacher at Withamsville Tabasco Elementary. Karen has served the district for 36 years. Christina Mars, she is currently a kindergarten teacher at Willowville Elementary. Christina has served the district for 32 years. And John Wagner, he's currently a custodian at Clough Pike Elementary and has served the district for 19 years. Do you have any questions for me regarding today's personnel agenda?
Could you tell the teachers congratulations for us? I know them both very well.
Yes, well, certainly.
And it's going to be a big loss to the district.
Yes, always.
The speed teacher that's on page 1, is this a new position?
Sorry. excuse me,
It's a special ed teacher.
the special, yes, that is
Is this-
replacing a resignation from earlier this school year. We had a resignation occur, I believe, in September or October.
Okay, thank you.
So it is a replacement.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Rule.
Good evening. Before you for your acceptance this evening is a grant award from the Clermont County Family and Children First Council. For the last several years, the council has looked to use some local dollars to assist with our effort, our unified effort to reduce suicidal ideation amongst our youth and suicidal attempts amongst our youth. So this award will be for $3,000 for use at the middle school and high school to support Sources of Strength, which is our peer support program that we have developed. Any questions?
Did you write the grant?
I did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a question. I was just kind of realizing that we employ now like 3 different companies, is that correct, for the kids' mental health?
Oh, for mental health services?
Yeah.
So we have agreements with multiple agencies to provide for comprehensive mental health services. And this is to provide for prevention services, therapy, case management or care coordination, which helps to connect to additional services a student or family might need, as well as medication management. We have NECO, which is an agency that serves students preschool through our 8th grade at the moment. We have Best Point at the high school, as well as providing special education supports for some specific students at elementary, middle, and high school as well. Child Focus is still our community referral partner and also is working with us this year through the Mental Health and Recovery Board to provide some support for suicide ideation risk assessment as well as short-term prevention services. Beyond that, we also partner with Presley Ridge and the Family and Children's First Council for wraparound supports for students who might need that higher level of support.
How is that going? Are we getting everything covered? It came to my attention that one of the schools didn't have somebody on campus when they felt like it was a very emergent, it was something that they needed, and there wasn't anyone on campus. And I said, well, I wasn't sure, and I did a few,
Sure.
I asked a few questions, but to my understanding, are we still looking for people, or is things still not kind of
Every
getting
building-
100% covered?
Every building has services. I know that 2 buildings, it's been a little more difficult to get families engaged and to get the systems working right, but there are therapists in every building, case managers in every building. I think the building you're referring to had some turnover in staff. They have one therapist that they share with another building for students who are Medicaid eligible, and a second therapist that's actually starting this week who will take students on commercial insurance. Beyond that, we're actually expanding rather quickly. They're going to be adding a second therapist to Holly Hill, a second therapist to WT Withensville Tabasco, a second therapist, I believe, to Amelia.
So on campus, someone will have someone on their campus
Yes.
all the time now.
Right now, we have close to, all told, about 30 service providers that are giving this service.
Well, unfortunately, it's a necessary need, but,
Yeah.
and now we're having 3 different companies, is that right, kind of? That
Well, we
you're
have-
partnered with, well, 4 or 5. or-
We have 3 that are on site in some
Okay.
capacity,
Okay.
and then several others that we collaborate with around different types of needs that students have. But we'll have some more data for you in January, I believe, when we have a mid-year, update for that.
Okay.
But our ability to provide comprehensive service in this district is beyond what most districts have.
We have a
So it's exciting to see that unfold and to see some of the impact that we're beginning to have.
Well, I appreciate it. I know it's a challenge. We have a very large district and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a challenge trying to get people to work. I mean, I understand all that.
Well, with
But-
anything that's new, there's going to be a period of time where we have to work through what that system looks like. And when you have multiple agencies working together, there's going to obviously be some bumps along the way. The biggest bump was getting enough licensed individuals to show an interest in working here, which I think we've accomplished.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Larry Parise.
Good evening. Before you is a board resolution to authorize the release of requests for proposal for network connectivity and network equipment in primarily 3 facilities: West Clermont Middle School, Holly Hill Elementary, and Merwin Elementary. Those networks are reaching the end of their useful life. The fact that we go out for proposals does not necessarily mean we'll go forward with replacement. A lot of it will depend upon approval from the E-rate program for partial reimbursement of that. We're currently at a 60% reimbursement rate from that program, as well as, cost. And we'll just see how the numbers come back and see if it makes sense for us. But this allows us to get that ball rolling, as well as the connectivity between all of our buildings. That contract is up in June of this year. It's normally a 5-year period. That terminates in June. And we will be we have one contract that's for Ferguson Drive because that came later than the other buildings. That will be rolled into a singular contract for the entire district for network connectivity between all of our buildings. So this allows us just to get those balls rolling and start the E-rate application process.
So the E-rate application is actually saving the district money, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, the E-rate program will provide, if approved, and generally speaking, they get approved because we only file qualified applications. 60% of the cost is paid by E-rate, and 40% then is paid by the district. Okay.
Thank you. Item 9.04 is request for approval of minutes. The motion to approve minutes for the October 20th meeting as presented. Item 9.05 is a request for approval of donations as presented. In summary, there's close to $6,800 in cash donations and various supplies and food and meals for families and for the schools. Item 9.06 is request for the authorization for the superintendent and treasurer to negotiate and execute contracts as presented. There are 5 contracts listed in that resolution. Make one correction here. In the agenda, it says Best Buy Logic. It is Best Bus Logic. That is there. Item 9.07 is request for approval of purpose and budget statements for the current year, the 25-26 school year. There are 3 requests: Merwin Principals Account, middle school field trips, and the middle school athletic fund. Item 9.08 is request for authorization to request a filing of a modified tax budget. We'll get into some of this a little bit later, but previously, I think for the past probably 12 or so years, the county and the Budget Commission waived the filing of a tax budget for school districts within Clermont County. We did meet with the Clermont County auditor staff last week. When I say we, the area school district treasurers within the county had a full discussion on what would be required and what were some of the timelines for that. This specific resolution is requesting the authority for the Clermont County Budget Commission for us to file it and to file a modified tax budget for the fiscal year, which is the next fiscal year beyond this one, which is 26-27. And we'll state a little bit later on in Treasurer's comments on how some of the law changes have really required and impacted the school district to file that tax budget with the county auditor, where in previous years it was not required to do so. So that action item is request for approval of resolution requesting authority from the Clermont County Budget Commission to file a modified tax budget for the 26-27 school year, fiscal year. Item 9.09 is the financial statements, the bills paid list, and investments for the period ending October 31st, 2025. and those are as presented. And so the consent agenda is items 9.01 through item 9.09.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. You've heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion? Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Is there any discussion?
Spencer? Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
5 yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Good evening, and I haven't seen you guys. Congratulations that we get to work together for a few more years, so congratulations on the elections.
A few more years, you say?
A few more years.
Great.
So, tonight we have a first reading, and we did not have a committee because there's only a few things, and a lot of it's around language, and I'm gonna go through it very quickly. It's around transportation, and basically is going to get us up to standards and compliance with the current requirements. And so policy 4162 is language around drug and alcohol testing of CDL license holders, so those are our bus drivers. It also has some new language around return to duty language that we have to put in to be compliant as well. 4162 is that same thing with drug and alcohol testing with those without CDL, and those would be the ones that would be driving our vans. It's very, very similar, or it is similar, it is the same as those with CDL license, and it will follow the same drug testing regulations under 4162.01. Policy in 8600, again, is language. We talked about this last time. It's around those non-routine trips where they have food and students are allowed to eat on the bus. And so we put that in the policy back in November, and they've revised that again to reflect new regulations, and that is still in there. 86.04, bus alternative vehicle driver certification. Main thing in that is the age requirement of 21 is what we selected, and would continue with that for. We didn't have that language before, but that also reflects the new terminology and state regulations for alternative vehicles. And again, those are the vans that we do have. Policy 8640, non-routine trips, again, around that House Bill 54 and the language about eating and drinking on non-routine trips. And then finally, 8650 is transportation, and basically looks at the number of people that can be on the van, and it is 9 plus the driver, and that has put into those changes and revisions, as well as the AGs, and those have to go in as well. So again, a lot of language changes, House Bill 54, and a few other things that have put into place. This is a first read. If you have questions, let me know. I put in board update the last couple times, but if you do have questions, let me know. Reminder, the next policy probably will be February, which will be that big 120, 30 pages of policy that we'll be looking at probably in February. If there's no other questions, just a reminder, I didn't throw it out there for operations again. Recognize the maintenance and custodial staff is doing an amazing job. And the other part of facilities, I put an invite out for you guys for December 8th. We do have a committee meeting for facilities, which SHP will come to the meeting and will give us a 1,000-foot view of what they found in the 3 older buildings. And so that will be a very, very informative. I'm told we'll have probably a list of about 100 line items, but we will break it down and make that as simple as possible. So I want to invite all of you to that December 8th committee meeting in the Riverview Room at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Thank you. Looks like we have, is it Josh and? Josh and Jenny? Oh, here it is.
So while Mr. Romano is getting things queued up, we're going to be looking through some of our enrollment trends. Shared this with the Personnel Committee a couple weeks ago, but I want to make sure we share with the entire board. We're going to be looking at numbers from a variety of different statistics from this past year. Dr. Foltz obviously is very passionate about that. But one thing I want to remind you guys as we're going through these numbers is that
Oh, there you go.
what? I want to remind you as we go through these numbers is that 1 equals 1. All right. Although yes, they are one. They are individual kids. They all have their own unique personalities. You know, and I asked Mrs. Golden to send me a picture, and I said, "This kid's got to go on here because he's got a lot of passion and spunk, and I love that."
Yeah, he may have been here tonight. Yeah.
So, looking at our predictive enrollment. We've been working in power schools the past couple, almost 10 years here, and they have a high ability to predict what our enrollment's going to be. We continue to work with them. This past school year, they were at 96% accurate in their predictions, which is still pretty high level for the work that we have to do with predictions for staffing and building sizes and classrooms, all those things that we need. When we look at what drives some of those enrollment trends, open enrollment is one of them. We have decreased the amount of open enrollment we have coming in over the past couple of years. This past year, we welcomed in 21 students, but that is down significantly from the 21-22 school year where we were bringing in very large numbers up to 273. So that has decreased over the years. Our kindergarten enrollment has also decreased a little bit. This past year, not this year, but the year before, if you remember, we changed our enrollment age. This went from September 30th to August 1st. And so we see that class size of 560. And then this past year, we went up to 614. We really thought we were going to see a bump from those kids that weren't able to come because of the change. And we didn't see that whole bump right there. You know, maybe some theories that could be involved in that is that, you know, did they go to a private school because they really wanted to get their kid into school and they enjoyed their experience there and they didn't come back to us? That could be a possibility. Some of them, they went to a private school that year and then they came back to us as first graders because they had already fulfilled that requirement. It's about 5 or 6. We're digging into this a little bit more, but a little bit less than what we had expected. We'll continue to monitor it. When we look at our overall enrollment, though, it's pretty spot on. It's only 1% off from where we were the year before, 7,866. This is from our September 15th data that we pull. We pull that every single year, and so we kind of are able to see trends over the course of many years of where we're at. In regards to our numbers, one of the key components of how we staff and meeting the needs of students is our special education numbers. Mr. Rudy asked me the other day when we were in our meeting, kind of what is our statewide average? That's around 16% of the student population statewide. West Clermont this past year on the report card was 17.2, so we're right around that average. But it is a growing population, all right, and that's just from the needs that we recognize and we want to make sure we're serving. Typically, we see more of those in the elementary school, which makes a lot of sense because you come into school, we identify the needs, and then we connect you to those services that you need. As you get older, the goal is that we're gonna take you off of IEPs, or you're gonna graduate from your IEPs, and so you no longer need those services. And so they should shrink as they get into the middle school and high school if we're doing that work at a high level. With increases in special education, this past school year, as of October 1st, these were the increases that we saw. This is for preschool, and this includes our preschool numbers, which is why it's so high. But you see the different categories that have started, that were identified October 1st that we did not have. Autism is one of those higher categories. And when we look at these different categories, they have different needs. And when we say that, I know that this past year we were looking at classroom spaces, and we said we have X number of classrooms. We can't get 25 kids in every single classroom because there's a variety of different needs. And so those factors come into how we staff our buildings. They also come into how we use our building spaces. I will say this, you know, with people coming here, you know, I heard a lot over the past year and a half while I've been in the district of wanting to create a destination district. And I think that this might show one of those pieces that people want to come here. They value our education. They want to come and get our services for their kids that have high needs, and they value the work that we're doing. So it might be one of those indicators as we move forward. We have seen a trend of ELL students, those students that, English language learners. It has increased over the past several years, 22% increase over 5 years. Our most common languages that we serve are Spanish and Uzbek. It's kind of one of those, I know, yeah. It's one of those places where you wouldn't think are here, but they are, and they come and they tell about the great experiences they have, and so other people want to come and enjoy West Clermont, and so we'll serve all that come. They obviously, though, they require different needs, and so we want to make sure that we're servicing them to the best of our ability.
Can you say that language again?
Uzbek.
Uzbek, okay.
I believe Uzbekistan is where they derive from.
Former Soviet Republic.
Yes.
Oh.
And when I was still here before I retired, I had quite a few Uzbekis, I guess is what they're called.
Yeah. And that's also regional. We're not the only school district that has seen an influx of the population.
Okay.
In terms of enrollment, we have about 6 transactions per a day. This past year, we had 531 enter and 469 withdraw. About 12% of our population. So kids are coming and going. The state uses when they use the term transient, anyone who enrolls after the first day or de-enrolls after the first day during the actual school year. So it does not count those summer enrollments. Currently, we've got about 305 in the 12 weeks that we've already had. This also, it poses challenges, if you will. And I say challenges because you're bringing a new student, you're onboarding them. A lot of times you get paperwork that shows where they're at, but once again, they're kids, they're unique. And so you got to kind of bring them in, bring them apart, and make them a part of West Clermont, which takes time and energy, which is okay, because we want them to come and stay with us. But it is one of the pieces of the puzzle when we bring in more and more students.
Is that number higher than, okay, here it is, I see.
Yeah, you're okay, yeah. It's been
So
pretty
it's not
consistent.
really average. It's pretty much what it's been for the past
Yep.
5 years. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Lastly, those students choosing other districts. OE out is open enrollment out. You can see the numbers. It's decreased a little bit over time, but we still send kids in order in terms of like the surrounding school districts. New Richmond is our top school district that we send kids to, Batavia, Bethel Tate, Williamsburg, and Milford. Some kids choose private schools. We have 89 that have come to us at some point and then left our district. And I dug into this. There was a question about this one in terms of like 89, that doesn't seem very high. So I dug into it with our EMIS coordinators. And first off, I want to thank them both. Lou Stahl and Lisa Loudon did a nice job of kind of compiling some of this data for us, and I need to make sure I recognize them. But when we look at this private school number, we can't see some of the kids who started at St. Thomas. I know that may not actually be a private school, but started at St. Thomas, and they've been in private schools for the rest of their career. We can't see that data in this. These are students that came to us at some point and then left for those private schools.
So this doesn't include the kindergartners that didn't ever come?
Yeah, that we would not be able to see them in that. Online school, we've seen a diminished number there. We will see that number in terms of this is as of October 1st. That number does fluctuate with kids going into online, figuring out, oh, maybe this isn't for me, coming back. But those were our numbers as of October 1st. Home education, we see a slight dip in that. But once again, if they never started with us, we can't see them on the numbers because we don't know they exist because they never started in our system. But overall, we are able to track about 1,000 students have choices outside of our own district. And finally, just to kind of give you that final reminder, 1 equals 1, all right? They're all unique. We want to serve them to the best of our ability, and that's all we can do. We want this to be a destination district. So, any further questions?
Thank you very much.
No, this is a lot of information. I appreciate it. It's very informative.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, next is 10.03. What you see in front of you is just the proposed Board of Education meeting dates for the calendar year 2026. This is for information only and for planning purposes. We're not taking any action on this. There's no vote until we go to the January's organizational meeting. But We wanted to get that in your hands, take a look at it, and we can have some conversations as the weeks go on prior to getting to January. And by that time, we can solidify a calendar. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then finally, I had to make a list because it's been about a month since we've been together. So I wanted to take a few moments to say, since the last time we were here, our Partners in Education event, our PI event, happened on October 22nd. We had approximately 168 attended. We want to thank everyone, including elected officials, food services, band, et cetera, for attending. The band was phenomenal if you were there that day, and as the partners they surrounded them in the auditorium, and you could feel the music, and that was amazing. Our own staff, our own food services catered the event. It was amazing food. A lot of great comments about that. So what we're working towards now is that every partner having a plan that supports our students. So that was a successful day. So we're continuing to grow those partnerships. I also wanted, this past Monday, if you didn't get a chance to look at our social media, please do so. Governor Mike DeWine and his wife, Fran, visited Willowville Elementary School. Willowville was one of 47 schools in the state named the Governor's Science of Reading Recognition Program School. So again, this is an example of how West Clermont has continued a commitment to ensure every student gets a quality, strong, research-based literacy education. So we're excited about that. Yesterday morning, I had the opportunity to attend the Governor's Merit Scholarship Recognition. So we had 29 high schoolers receive a Governor's Merit Scholarship recipient award at West Clermont High School. That's the top 5% of our class. And they exemplified academic excellence, leadership, and dedication to their futures. So the recipients received up to $5,000 per year for each of the 4 years that they'll be in college. So the fact that there were 29 there, and I have to brag because as I sat there and shook a couple hands, they were my Brandner kids. So they came up and they were looking at me dead level in the eye, and if you look in their eyes, I could see the 5-, and 6-, and 7-year-old faces. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. And it was just amazing to see that. So I was so excited to again, celebrate our high-achieving students in high school and how we see it's a K-12 experience, a pre-K-12 experience to get them there. And I'm always amazed on how, I'm amazed, but amazed as in I know it, not how could they, but more. I'm so excited that we've been able to provide such a quality education to these kids, and they're ready to become our future, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And then finally, this past week we were at the OASPA's Capital Conference. I know we talked about this last time, but I want us to celebrate it again. Our Board of Education was recognized as a Board of Education distinction. There's approximately 607 public school districts in the state of Ohio. I believe we were one of 5 that were recognized for this. So that is outstanding. I'm very pleased with our board and the districts recognized for this distinction at that state level. Also, while we were there, Mr. Parise, Larry Parise, did a presentation on building a cyber-mindful workforce. So we had our adults there as well, helping to educate other state officials and other state adults on cyber security and cyber mindfulness. And we had 2 different groups of students there. So we even had our students at this state Capitol Conference. Rena Ford took a group of 8th grade students from her expedition class, and they had a booth at the Student Achievement Fair. And they created a podcast that looked like a TED Talk. Yeah. And so they called themselves, they called it the Gift TED Talk. And it was amazing. They're great kids. And then Lauren Crabio also took a handful of middle school students from her Lighthouse team, and they had a booth, and they talked about how they as students promote leadership and leadership opportunities to their fellow students. So it's always, it always warms my heart to see that West Clermont is at the table and at the stage in these big events, and they're representing. They're not just attending, but they're representing. They're showcasing. They're winning awards. They're being leaders throughout the state. So anytime and every time we do that, I want to make sure that that gets recognized. So, that's it for me.
That's it? Okay. Item 11.01 is the request for the superintendent recommends the board approve a resolution waiving required notices from and regarding and approving the adoption by Union Township, Clermont County, Ohio, of a tax increment financing resolution, a TIF resolution, approving and authorizing the execution of a tax incentive agreement with the township for the Marion Senior Development Project and making related authorizations. So again, as becomes somewhat standard with Union Township when they do a TIF, a couple things. A is, and maybe to dispel any myths, the township administrator, Corey Wright, meets with the superintendent and myself, goes over and reviews the tax increment financing proposal that is there. We talk cooperatively with that. One of the key items of this is a compensation agreement that makes the school district whole of revenue they would have otherwise received. So in other words, if that property is tax exempt and there are payments in lieu of taxes that go to the township, there's a compensation agreement that really makes us whole for the taxes we would have received. So we're very appreciative to the fact that there's a lot of open communications between both the school district and the township administrators and the township period to make some good things happen. No question to the fact that we support their economic development efforts, especially when they have the highest consideration of making us whole on money that we would otherwise receive. The Marion project is a senior development. The estimated improvement above the current base is $15 million. That would provide additional revenue to the school district, somewhere depending on the progress of the development, $180,000 to over $200,000 as we go forward. So so it is the recommendation that we do approve of the resolution as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. You've heard the recommendation. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
5 yes. Thank you.
I would like to add one comment. Mr. Romano, thank you very much for always advocating for us and getting every dime that you can from it. That
It's our job,
you,
right?
well, you do a great job of it.
Appreciate
We
that.
thank you for it.
Thank you. So in the 11.02, and I kind of foreshadowed this a little bit, but past presentation to the board, I'll put it up on the screen here. Okay. 2 updates for the board. One is, I know the question was asked earlier, there were some bills that were pending that really impact property taxes, which really directly, not indirectly, but directly impact the school district. We'll talk about that briefly. I mentioned that earlier that we will be filing a tax budget with the Clermont County Budget Commission. That's the first time we've been required to do that, or have done that probably in a dozen years or so. And so we'll review that process as we go through. So 4 bills that were approved yesterday. The House had previously passed those bills. The Senate took action on those with, some of them had amendments to it. As the Senate passes anything with an amendment, it has to go back to the House for them to concur that those amendments are okay. And all that did happen. House Bill 129 was really directed towards the millage floor calculation, the 20 mil floor, and regarding to fix some levies. House Bill 309, County Budget Commission authorities and property tax law. House Bill 186 reduces certain school property taxes. House Bill 355 limits the inside millage revenue increases. We'll go over each one of those 4. But as stated previously, I think it was that last month or the month before the presentation, these bills plus others that were passed do 3 things. They reduce the current collections and revenue for the school district. What does that do and impact the residents? It does reduce tax payments by our population, by homeowners, okay, residential homeowners. It reduces growth of revenue to the school district, and it reduces the opportunity for future revenue, okay? And I'll kind of highlight that as we go through these 4 bills real quickly. So House Bill 129, the millage floor calculation, fixed sum levy. So provided you kind of the detailed summary there, but what does this really do? What 129 really does is it takes any existing millage passages that we've had. So for example, we passed in 2020 an emergency levy. Prior to that, can't remember the year, but we passed a continuing substitute levy. What this bill does is says that those two levies, which were outside the 20 mil floor, now become fixed sum levies and get put into the calculation of the 20 mil floor. With that passage yesterday, we're off the 20 mil floor. What did the 20 mil floor do for us historically? It allowed this district, quite frankly, as I look backwards, to survive. It provided the opportunity for revenue growth. It was difficult to pass levies, but what was set up back in 1976, after House Bill 920 in 1977, the 20 mil floor was established, which basically said school districts should collect at least 2% of the property value, or 20 mils. It also allowed certain levies to be calculated outside the 20 mil floor. This erases those certain levies, okay? Those now become fixed sum levies, and they get counted towards the 20 mil floor. What's the impact? Basically, there's no growth except for new construction in the revenue, okay? So that was done with that, to do that. So the two levies that were traditionally outside the 20 mil floor that we had now get included to the 20 mil floor, okay? It also identified some things that may continue with homestead rollback, okay? But in another piece of legislation, we'll talk about what's going on with that. House Bill 309, County Budget Commissions and Property Tax Law. This is one where it's one of two. A previous one, which kind of is, I don't know if affectionately or inaffectionately known as the piggyback tax, allowed the county commissioners to provide a piggyback tax of homestead rollback, which meant that, based on their decision, i.e. another overlapping government, the county commissioners, could say that, hey, they could make a determination that the homestead rollback credit to homeowners, which is reimbursed by the state, could be doubled, or could issue that credit again, but that would not be reimbursed by the state. The impact of that one, and again, that's not 309, that's a previous bill, would reduce revenue to the school district. Gladly, fortunately, I think our county commissioners, county administrators understood how that would impact the school district and other overlapping governments, right? Townships, libraries, others, how that could impact them, and they had till October 31st to do that. That was not done, okay? So that did not occur. There's another decision they have. They could look at doing a piggyback tax reduction again. If they do that before June 30th, it would impact the tax collections. If they do it before June 30th of 26, it will impact the tax collections of starting January 1 of 27. If it is done after June 30th or July 1 through the next June 30th, it would impact the taxes collected starting January 1 of 2028. That one plus House Bill 309, which is in front of you, as soon as I hit this, okay? House Bill 309 allows the County Budget Commission, okay, to reduce voter-approved levies, okay, except debt levies, okay, because on the debt levies, those are specific to bonds that were issued, so those are not allowed to be reduced, but unless the county auditor determines that. But the County Budget Commission can reduce voter-approved levies, okay, if it deems they are unnecessary or excessive, okay. Thus, earlier we talked about we've got to do a tax budget. That document, okay, and we'll explain a little bit more later, that document is our justification and lays out our expenses and what our potential revenues are for the ensuing fiscal year to help justify that it gets collected. So that's why we're doing the tax budget. But again, between the piggyback tax, between House Bill 309, that provides a cloud of uncertainty because other governmental units can override what you have decided in the past and what you currently decide to have done, okay, on our revenue collection. Okay, so it did pass, it's into law, we're faced with it, we move on and figure out what to do. House Bill 186. Okay, House Bill 186 was up for a lot of discussion. What it does, it caps the growth of the 20 mil floor. It wasn't, prior to the previous House bill that was passed, House Bill 129, okay, we were on the 20 mil floor, there was growth. That 20 mil floor back in 2020 provided additional revenue to the general fund, about $3 million. In 2023, first collected in 24, provided additional revenue to the general fund, about $9 million, which in essence allowed us to fund things and to continue on without a levy. Okay, to do that. That does not exist anymore. Okay, between House Bill 129 and 186, the floor still exists. The ability for it to grow at the valuations it did in the past do not exist. It is capped with a deflator or at the rate of inflation. So our ability to grow is not there. What this also does is go back and is effective retroactively for we were in the reappraisal year of 2023. That goes, this bill goes back and says, well, since that 2023, at that time, it was 40%. It was a very unique thing in history, as far as this school district is concerned. But it goes back and it provides a credit to the residential homeowners, a credit of the difference between that rate of inflation, okay, and what was collected, the increase that was collected. The state has made provisions for at least 2 years, and currently only 2 years, to make districts whole of what was collected in 2024, okay? And I highlight for at least 2 years because beyond that, that may have an impact of reducing our revenue if the next General Assembly doesn't say they will continue making us whole, okay? So this, when I looked at those 3 things, has the potential of reducing revenue to us, specifically property taxes. The state is attempting to make us whole of what the 2024 numbers were. I will be very honest with you, I don't fully understand the whole calculation yet with the deflator. I am hesitant to tell you whether or not we get new construction growth revenue, because I'm not too sure if that was used to help the offset or not. We'll figure that all out in the coming weeks to do that before we do the tax budget, right? Because we have to put that stuff in the tax budget, put those dollars in the tax budget or take them out, okay, to do that. But these 4 pieces of legislation plus the piggyback tax have in essence the ability to reduce our revenue, flatten our revenue, and with the next piece of legislation, okay, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is reduce the opportunity collected. The other part of House Bill 186, okay, impacts the homestead rollback. There's 2 components. There's the owner-occupied rollback, so for residential property, it raises that credit from 2.5 to in 2026 to 5.7, to 2027 8.92, 2028 12.15, and in 2029 15.38%. I will be honest with you, I didn't read through the whole bill. I don't know if that becomes reimbursed by the state or not, which the current one does, okay? So what that means is the homeowners will get a credit, i.e. it reduces the tax collection to us, whether or not the state is going to make that up back to us, which it currently is, I don't know. The 10% non-business rollback, okay, is going to be phased out. Okay, so it is looking at residential, non-business residential property tax. And so as the owner-occupied increases, this one gets phased out. Okay, 7.5 in 26, 5% in 2027, phases out completely in 2029. The agricultural property, it just continues at the 10% rollback, okay? Again, as part of 186, I'd love to tell you that I have all the numbers flushed out. I do not, okay, with that, but we will do that. Bill just passed yesterday with, and some of these were amendments to it, okay, that we didn't know before. House Bill 335, okay, limits the inside millage. So, inside millage, there were 10 mills way back when, in the beginning of time, that said, hey, take these 10 mills within the county and distribute them to school districts, cities, the villages, the townships, library, all these overlapping, governmental entities. We had 4.2 mills. That inside millage was always allowed to be assessed at the full rate. In other words, that rate never got reduced. So as valuations increased, that 10 mills within the county, okay, was always assessed against the current value and that increase together. So school districts, townships, villages, counties, whoever shared in that 10 mills, we shared 4.2 mills. We had some growth in revenue with it. That revenue is getting capped just like the 20 mil floor. It's getting capped at an inflation rate, or what they say is a GDP deflator rate. I wish I could tell you what all that means, okay? All I know is that it reduces our ability to grow revenue, okay, with that, okay, to do that. That bill also passed, by the way, all these bills passed pretty handily, okay, to do that, which gives it. If I were to add a fourth thing to reducing the revenue, to flattening the revenue, i.e. no growth, and to reducing the opportunities, the fourth thing it did is really provide this cloud of uncertainty from one year to the next to the next. So as the rules change and other entities and we look at the rate of inflation, which, I can project that it's going to be 3% over a long period of time annually, but I can't tell you from year to year what it's going to be. Okay, historically it averages at 3%. So this uncertainty, is something that we're going to have to deal with. Okay, why is that important? Because as Mr. Patton knows, as Dr. Fultz knows, and I know, that whenever we do contracts, we have to sign a thing that's called a fiscal certificate, right? There's a stack every once in a while Brian gets to sign off on. Well, that basically tells us that in order to sign for that contract, whether it's an employee contract, whether it's a contract, the 5 that we just did this evening, we have to say, hey, we have enough revenue to service that contract and go into a future year, okay? These limit that ability, okay? So we can't look at 2 or 3 year contracts, okay, because of that uncertainty. Are we going to get the revenue or not, okay? Good, bad, indifferent, right or wrong? New rules of the game that we have to deal with. Okay, and we will deal with them and we'll make good things happen regardless, okay? So, I know I threw a lot at you on these 4 bills. The summary that I can give you is, revenue is getting reduced, revenue is getting flattened, no growth. The opportunity to put levies on the ballot is more difficult, okay, with that. Cloud of uncertainty with it. That's the high level summary, okay? Maybe if there's a 5th thing, I wish I could tell you specifically what it all means. I can't right now, okay, but we will. Tax budget, okay, so just briefly going over this because you haven't, Ms. Sanborn's been on the board previously, right, 8 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago?
Yep,
Okay.
10 years.
Ryan, Michael, Mr. Rudy, or Mr. Rudy's been on for a while, okay, 4 years at least, but you guys never had to do this, right? Never had to approve a tax budget as we go forward. Well, we are now, okay? What you'll see is very similar to the 5-year forecast, but is really focusing on the funds that collect or that have revenue from property taxes, okay? So that's the major focus. It is in a similar format like our 5-year forecast summary, okay? Identifies the local revenues, the state revenues, the federal revenues for each of those 3 funds I mentioned. And it divides it up into 6-month increments. So there'll be a column for July through December, a column for January through June, another column for July through December. Why is that, okay? We operate on a fiscal year, July through June 30th. Taxes are collected on a calendar year, January through December 31st. So as we give our need, okay, which this document is going to do, our need to the County Budget Commission, we need to split it up, we need to show it not only in the fiscal year, but in the tax collection year, okay, for that. So that will be happening, okay? What are some of the key dates that we got to look at? In November, earlier at this meeting, you passed a resolution that, basically that resolution says, Dan, go file this document, go file this resolution with the county auditor and the county budget commission. Tell them that we want to file a modified tax budget, that we will do that, ask them to accept that, which they've already had that discussion and they will. Through the rest of this month and into December, okay, we'll complete that tax budget, which means that we'll take that 5-year forecast, which you approved in October. The biggest update is the impact of these bills that were just passed, okay? So you'll see some pluses and minuses in there. In December, okay, we will need to do an advertisement. When I say post, the word post is down there. We'll do an ad on the website. We may have to do one with a newspaper that says, hey, we're completing a tax budget that will be submitted. That tax budget will be available at the school district offices. We'll also put it online when it is done, okay? And the community, if you want to come and you want us to hear from you about that tax budget, we'll have a public hearing on that tax budget, okay? That hearing can be before the board passes it. It will be before the board passes it, okay? And it typically can be maybe in January before the organizational meeting, okay? We can have that set up before the organizational meeting. I will tell you, over my 45-year career, the districts that had a tax budget hearing, I've only had one person in the community show up and had a nice conversation with a gentleman about school district finances, okay? But I mean, we invite people to come and review that tax budget and make comments, okay? In January, then we'll have that hearing. I'll try and schedule it before the organizational meeting. And at the organizational meeting, we'll put the tax budget in front of the board for their approval. Once that's approved, we'll file that with the county auditor and the county budget commission to go forward, okay? What that leads to is, historically in March or April, we've had a resolution for the board to accept the rates, okay? So the levy rates, okay? This tax budget usually was preceded that effort. It will now, okay? But the tax budget information will really roll into that resolution, okay, that you do in March or April, that we do that, okay? So it is something old that we ceased doing, okay, because the commission waived the ability to do it or the right to do it, and now it's bringing it back, mainly impacted by the legislation that was just passed yesterday to do that. Apologize for throwing a lot at you on this. That's why I wanted to hand this out to you so you can have a look at it. Don't know if you have any questions on either the legislation or on this tax budget process. If you want to digest that information and give me a call anytime, do that too. But I don't know if there's any immediate questions on this or reactions too, because that's probably important too.
I'm sure you love being the continuous bearer of bad news. Would the tax budget hearing be in conjunction with the organizational meeting?
In conjunction with?
The organizational meeting.
Yeah, it would be. I'd have it right before. I think it's best to schedule it right before then. it's not required that the board have to be there, but I think it would be good if people want to have comments, that the board, be available to hear that. So we'll schedule it that way if that's okay.
Sounds good.
I do have one question. I don't know that you can answer it or not because it seems so in flux, but where they talked about having it being retroactive, they're not going to withdraw any of the funding that they've already given us. They're just going to, the state is supposed to make us whole and give us for 2 years. Is that
So
right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Well, no, but you bring up a good point, and it's something I don't know. So historically, when they do that with property taxes, for example, with homestead rollback, they did it twice a year. They waited till the settlements were done from the county auditor. They paid us, and then they did that in one lump sum. I don't know if they're gonna do that, say, hey, like they do their state payments to us, and do it 1/12 throughout the fiscal year. Because what's gonna happen is this, there's not enough time for the county auditors to react to this. So the bill is gonna be sent out, okay, without the credit, i.e. for us, it would be for 2024 tax year, all right, 23 tax year collected in 24. So that full bill would be sent out, okay? So we'll probably get, for the rest of this year, the revenue we expected. The credit, okay, for the full year will probably be issued for the second bill, okay, July 1.
Oh,
Which means that full year credit will come out of the second half, okay? So our property taxes that were scheduled to be received between July and December 31st will have that full year credit on it, okay? Hopefully, then the state gives us that to make us whole, gives us that funding between July and December 31st. I hope that's in a lump sum versus spread out over 12 months, okay, a 12-month period, so.
So when we get our bill, our tax bill, because I pay my property tax, it's February, I think, 1st or 2nd or something like
Right.
that. On my bill, it's going to say that I get a credit of some kind?
Well, the bill the bill that gets paid in January, February, okay?
Yeah.
To my understanding, it will not be on that bill.
Okay, it'll be in
It will be on
July.
the second half
Okay,
bill.
okay.
Okay?
I just thought maybe it was.
Now, if they have
slower
time
July.
to do it, maybe they can do it, but to my understanding, it's not scheduled to appear that way, okay?
I
So,
wouldn't
yeah.
think they could.
Yeah. And again, so which also concerns me, right? Because we have a community of people that don't follow this like we're following it. They'll hear that they get a credit and they won't see it. Then all of a sudden, in their second bill, they'll get the credit for the whole year. So that reduces that second half payment, okay?
Right.
And then when you look at the next year coming up, okay, it's not a full year credit, so on the bill that is January of 27,
Uh-huh.
that'll have the half year credit on it.
Oh.
So also now you've got a high 6-month bill, you got a low 6-month bill, and now you got a medium, so.
Oh, that's great for the elderly. They love looking at those tax bills.
Well, and your question right there, maybe I didn't think of it before, because it just means that we need to put some information out on our website, right? County's gonna put some stuff on there too, but.
I was actually going to see if you could do
ask those
something like a
questions.
frequently asked question.
About the property tax.
And again, I know it may be redundant to keep going over this, but perhaps taking 10 minutes each meeting and just kind of giving us another update if anything else has
Yeah.
changed, but.
To do that. So there'll be impact to us, there's certainly impact to the,
Yeah.
to the taxpayers to do that.
Yeah.
And impact to the state, right? to
Yeah, the
get
tax,
reimbursed.
I mean, that's good news, sort of, for the tax,
Yeah.
for people, well, everybody in the district, they'll be paying less tax, but it's a little confusing.
So I hate to be the bearer of that news, as Mr. Chumley said, but it is what it is, right? So we go for it. So any other questions regarding either the legislation or the tax budget?
This is great information to look at. I'm going to have to really think about this and dive into this a little bit more, and then I'll probably come back with questions to you.
And I'll be
Because
diving,
it's
I'll be
it's
diving
a lot
into it too.
it's a lot to absorb all in one evening.
Well, and they just passed these, right?
Right.
So, like yesterday or this morning?
Passed yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. So,
Yeah, with amendments. So we knew some of it, but then there were some amendments to that. Okay.
Okay, right.
So,
Good.
final comment from me is just, the Ohio School Board Capital Conference is always a good event for a treasurer, superintendent, and school board members. Appreciated the fact, that we spent that time learning together, okay, which I think always is important to do. And so just appreciated being with the board during that event. Hopefully everybody, don't dive into this, on Thanksgiving Day, okay, or the day before, maybe the day after, and we'll get more information with it, but I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, too.
Depends on how the table conversation is going.
I don't think so.
I'm good, thank you.
Next is moving on to board comments. Ms. Spencer?
Well, I appreciate everybody being here today, and I loved having the kids here. They did a great job. It was wonderful to see them getting a little nervous, but still willing to stand up and do, and be here. And I know the parents, it's a big ask on a Thursday evening to drag your kids out and have them here, but we do appreciate that. And Josh, we think you're doing a great job, and we appreciate all that everybody's doing out there with the clubs. That's extra and above and beyond, I think, what they do. We did get to go to the OSBA conference, Capital Conference. We missed Tina. I know she had a personal thing that she had to do, but it was wonderful to be on stage and get our award. I thought that was very cool. But it was a lot, and this with the tax is a lot. But just like Dan says, you just have to know the rules, and we'll just keep moving forward and pressing forward. And I do wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and have a wonderful break, and hopefully they'll enjoy everyone's company and rejuvenate. We are almost done. We're almost there at the end of the year. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Ms. Sanborn?
I had the opportunity to go to the Greater Cincinnati BAC meeting this past Friday. We had some great speakers there. I wish Dr. Foltz could have been there. We talked about artificial intelligence. Jeff Bauer gave an update on the Clermont College and all the great courses that are being taught there. He really is adamant about getting more students to come to the college, and so it was exciting to hear. Inter Alliance was there. Darrell Edwards talked about Clermont County Educational Service Center and all the great things that he's doing to make things happen for kids. He has really taken on his new role very passionately, and he loves what he's doing, and that showed. Then we had Donna Lavler. I probably pronounced her name wrong, I'm sorry. She talked about the higher education and teachers, and there seems to be a complete shortage of teachers across the state of Ohio, and how that they have to be creative, and how school districts will be creative in bringing teachers to school districts. But that's what we have right now. Goodwill was there, talked about there's not just giving out clothes to students in need, but they support housing for parents that need housing, workshops. They help parents try and find childcare and daycare. So that was his report. And then the last one was on Travis Smith. He talked about the disabled area students and how that they're trying to look at other areas to bring in internships and other adult day services for those students. All in all, it was a great morning. I had a wonderful time. Mrs. Preston was there, and Dr. Ray was there, and we all learned a lot. I'd like to give a little report. I did some levy looking up over over this past month, and Deer Park passed their 6.9 mil levy. Belt Healthy, they failed their levy. Lakota School District failed their levy. It was actually a bond issue and a permanent improvement levy for $605 million for expansion, demolition, and renovation. So I'm assuming they'll probably go back on the ballot. Little Miami passed their ballot initiative for 5.72 mils. It was a renewal. Let's see. Carlisle failed their levy for a 1% income tax appeal. Kings Local School District, they had an income tax with a property tax reduction that passed. Springboro's bond issue, 2.8 mils passed. And then New Richmond, their levy unfortunately failed with an income tax, a 1% income tax. So as we're going forward, we're thinking about our school district, what we're going to do in the near future. As you can see, some passed their levies and some did not. So it's very concerning. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chumley?
Yeah, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the community for bringing me back for another 4 years. I really think we've got a great team here. I had the pleasure of spending the weekend with a lot of y'all, and I really enjoy that time together. I always feel closer as a team when we come back from Columbus. And I love the opportunity to grow as a school board member as well with a ton of great sessions. Larry always presents the best one, but there were a ton of great ones. And I just want to thank everyone who's involved. Thank you, Tammy, for getting us on stage. And yeah, it was just a great overall experience.
Mr. Rudy?
I'd like to say that the Capitol Conference was wonderful. I enjoyed the kids, got to meet every one of them and talk to the teachers. Got some good information from the sessions and did a little networking with people. Everybody has the same fears as we do. I also wanted to congratulate Willowville on their visit. And I want to assure Mrs. Heiler that she was very photogenic. She tells me that part of it is not, but I don't believe it. Were you there too, Mr. Jones? No. You should have been there. Just because you're part of it. So that's just, it's all good news. And I understand that Lieutenant Governor is going to do some more things with it. So things are looking up. So hats off to your staff. And Mrs. Preston, I hear you had a very successful professional development countywide. I heard about it from teachers from other districts that really liked it. So, congratulations for that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. I'll keep mine brief. These events that we had this evening with the kids from Holly Hill, this is what it's about. This is why we're here. This is what we do. This is why we're sitting on this stage. They did a really great job. Very appreciative of the families again for bringing them out. I keep thinking it's 10 o'clock at night, but it's only 8 o'clock at night. But nonetheless, I appreciate that. Again, this is what it's about. So having the kids and as you can see, all of the great work that we're doing all across the district. So again, I do appreciate that. As we continue to navigate the ever-changing finances, this is a great opportunity to remind the community to get involved, to ask questions, let us know what your thoughts are. That's ultimately what we're here for, is to hear the community and take that message and make that the driving force. So again, as we all are working through this, it's now the time just to let us know what it is that we're all looking for and how we're going to keep all of these wonderful things that we're doing in the district, how we're going to keep it moving so that we don't go backwards. We do not want to go backwards. I've rambled enough. Before I forget, our next board meeting, well, two things. We have the Facilities Committee meeting. That will be before our board meeting, which is on December the 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. At one of the rooms here, River Room. Okay. And then our next board meeting will be also December the 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. here at the Civic Center. Again, we encourage everyone to get involved. And happy Thanksgiving. So I appreciate everyone, and that's all that I have. So at that point, we have no reason to go back into executive session. So would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Someone like to second it?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy and Ms. Sanborn. I'm assuming no discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Ms. Sanborn?
Yes.
Mrs. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Patton?
Yes.
Mr. Chumley?
Yes.
5 yes. Adjourned.